So, pastors, what is the function of the pastor office? This is a participative part of the presentation. Just shout it out. You don't need to raise your hand. What do pastors do biblically? What are pastors to do? Care, serve. What else? Shepherd. Teach. Any others? Preach, protect, disciple. What was that? Change and put out fires? Oh, flat tires. Both of them. Yes. Pray. Excellent. Excellent. So who is to pastor the pastors? And that's a hypothetical question. I just want you to marinate on that for a second. We've been asked the different ministries to share our ministry updates with stories, I have so many stories that I simply cannot share because of the confidential nature of our ministry. These stories are truly gifts from God to me and to the advocates of ours who are serving ministers. But I'm going to do my best to share some stories in a way that I feel is appropriate and that I hope blesses you. First, just some real quick background. I know most of you have heard of Before It Begins, and that's who I'll be speaking to. For those who haven't, let me just briefly say, just broad brushstroke. At Before It Begins, we're a ministry that promotes and protects biblical sexuality in the church and in our communities. We do that in two main ways. The first main way is our personal protection program that are for pastors. Pastors who are struggling with sexual temptation or sexual sin can contact us and get connected to an advocate who will meet with them regularly, and they provide 5 main services: companionship, covering, coaching, crisis support, and we have a relationship with Full Strength Network to provide counseling. We also provide services for the entire church. Much of that you'll get to a taste of this week. In fact, tomorrow you'll hear from Pastor Samuel. Pastor Samuel is one of the founders of Before It Begins and also one of our speakers. He'll be speaking in a TED Talk tomorrow. I'll be doing a workshop, when and how to talk to your kids about sexuality tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we're doing a half-day workshop, which you can register for, titled The Church's Voice in the Transgender Conversation. And so we have services that serve pastors and individuals, but then also the entire church. That is my real quick overview. That was probably very quick. If you've never heard it Before It Begins, please do see me at the booth, and I will fill you in on all the details. That gives you a taste of who we are, though. So let me start with a story. Sometime back, I got a call to Before It Begins. This minister introduced himself. He shared all the things that he had been going on in his life. This was a real man of God. He in the church ministry world, he had done it all. He had held this position and that position, and just was. I was just so floored and really honored to be speaking to someone who had done so much for the kingdom. And this man was in his later years, and both him and his family had been ravaged by COVID. I can't share the details for confidentiality reasons, but he was in a very lonely state, as is often the case of people who call Before It Begins. And then he said, honestly, I've never struggled with sexual sin. We all experience temptation, but he said, this hasn't been a struggle of mine. I've never been to a website, all these things that others of us can relate to. He said it just wasn't one of his struggles. And at this point, I was a bit confused as to why he was calling Before It Begins. And he told me that again, with COVID ravaging so much and not having the support that he had, he was so determined to finish his race well. And there was just in his regular life, there was a particular woman who dressed provocatively that he had to cross paths with regularly that was causing him temptation. And he just wanted support. He just wanted care. He just wanted accountability. He just wanted prayer so that he can finish his race well. And I was so floored by that. I was so humbled and honored that such a man would call upon, before it begins, would call upon me, would call upon the advocate, who then entered into relationship with him. And what a great privilege. I share this story for a couple reasons. First is to say and make clear to all of you that we don't just serve those who are struggling with sexual sin. Many of us struggle with sexual sin. All of us experience temptation. All of us need support at times. I want to talk to you about today, in the few minutes I have left, about one of the most common questions I get asked, which is, what's the difference between Before It Begins and a counseling-based ministry? And I want to ask you the question, having heard this story and the services and the care that this man was requesting. I wanted to ask you, what is the service domain of that? What is God's designed role, organization, designed entity, designed person to serve an individual with those needs? I would put forward to you that it's pastors. This isn't a perfect analogy, but I would propose to you that Before It Begins, we are more of a pastoral ministry, providing pastoral care to other pastors, than we are a counseling ministry. I just want to outline a few of those reasons. You know, look, the pursuit of purity and holiness is at its core a spiritual pursuit. Spiritual warfare, walking in our identity in Christ, declaring truth over lies, standing firm, holding the armor of God. These things, who is this the subject matter expertise of? It is us. It is the church. It is pastors. Please, please, please don't hear me as speaking down on counseling. We have counseling as part of our ministry. God works through counselors. God works through doctors. God, I do finance for some ministries. God works through finance. God works through all those things. But when you're talking about the services needed here, God has appointed the church and pastors to be over this. And so the meta-narrative, the story that I want to tell to you today is about you. You are the main character. You are the church. We are the church. Pastors need pastors. They don't have a safe place to go to get it. Now, I'm sure we all have people we're accountable to in a general sense. We have, elders and other pastors. But do they know about you in this way? Do they know some of your struggles in this area? That can be, that's a different question, right? And so, in that lack, we are here for you, pastors. Pastors, we're here for you to provide that spiritual coaching. We're here for you to be available 24/7 in moments of temptation. We're here for you to be a preventative ministry if you're just struggling with sexual temptation so that it doesn't become sexual sin. And senior pastors and elders. We're here for your church to provide all those things to your pastors, and we're here to promote biblical sexuality in your church. We're here to protect your people, your flock, by working with your pastors. We are pastors. We are not counselors. We are pastors. Could I have just a show of hands? Who here knows Don Day or Jim Highland? You raise your hands. Don Day and Jim Highland are advocates for Before It Begins. I think they have a great reputation. Anyone who raised their hands could, I'm sure, attest to that. That is the caliber of person that we are talking about, that we have been blessed with Before It Begins. They've been hand-selected by the regional directors. And so, my call and charge to you, pastors, is that you rise up. Church, rise up. We are here to be a partner for you. You do not need to do this on your own. If you're a pastor and you need help, whether struggling with sexual sin or just need help, support with temptation, as the story I told, then come speak to me or call the Before It Begins phone number. I'll give you that in just a second. If you're a senior pastor, if you're an elder, you want to hear more about how we can partner with your church at large. Maybe bring some of the conferences and workshops we're doing here into your church. Hear more about the services that we can offer for the rest of your pastoral leadership team and your church at large. Then please come speak with me. I want to announce too. I'm very excited to announce this. We are finally ready to launch, and it's available right now for Spanish-speaking and Portuguese-speaking pastors. We have our services available for you. And so, if you're going to the conference coming up next month, I think it is, or July actually, in Bethel University, there'll be a more formal announcement there, but you're getting a sneak peek out of it now. And so we're expanding, and it's now available to you, Spanish and Portuguese-speaking pastors. Very excited to report that. And so can I just, with one last action step request, can everyone get out their phone for me? And could you raise up your phone? And let me see what kind of phones you guys got. I left my phone at my table. Okay, excellent. Would you, Pastor, you never know when someone will come to you and admit a struggle to you in this area. And I'd like you to be prepared when that happens and recognize that we are a resource for you. So can you create a contact for us, please? You can call it Before It Begins. I'll give you the phone number in just a second as you're getting that ready. Okay, the number is 805 507 5511. Pastors, you are the main character of this story. We are God's appointed ones, and we are here to support you in that. Thank you very much.